Thank you for coming back. What's Michael Cohen up against today, sir?
Well, it's a very unusual situation where you have two prosecutors, the Southern District, urging a long sentence, saying the cooperation wasn't enough to justify a substantial reduction. And then you have the special counsel kind of saying something different, saying, yeah, he did cooperate. My suspicion is that the judge will kind of split the difference and maybe not give him the maximum of 4 or 5 years, unlikely to give him no jail time that his lawyers are seeking, but perhaps a shorter sentence of 1 or 2 years representing the attempt to cooperate, at least with the special counsel's office. You know, it's important for people to cooperate to get some reward.
Help us to understand. Why does Mueller's office look at him more favorably than these federal prosecutors in New York?
Well, I think the federal prosecutors have a deeper view of what he has done over the years. They've looked at his history and financial corruption going back a long time with taxi medallions and other kind of financial corruptions. So they look at the whole person, whereas Mueller only has him for lying, and he looks at kind of only a snapshot rather than a video. So it's not surprising that prosecutors looking at different aspects of Cohen's life and cooperation would come up with different recommendations. Now, the judge has to look at it holistically. He has to look at the past, the present, the future. Will he still continue to cooperate? And this judge is a very able judge, and I suspect that he will give a sentence that represents both points of view of both prosecutors.
So Cohen could still strike a deal, right? Whether it's today or a week or a month or a year from now.
You can always strike a deal. You can strike a deal till even I've seen deals struck after the person got out of prison in order to get some collateral relief. So there's never a statute of limitations on striking a deal.
If there's a deal to be struck. Now on impeachment. The president gave a couple interviews yesterday. One was in the Oval Office. He told Reuters this when they asked about impeachment. He said, it's hard to impeach somebody who hasn't done anything wrong and who's created the greatest economy in the history of our country. I'm not concerned. No, I think that the people would revolt if that happened. You wrote the book on that. What did you think when you heard that comment, sir?
Well, first of all, it's not going to happen. The president's not going to be impeached unless massive new information comes out. I suspect the special counsel report will include lots and lots of sins based on political and based on circumstantial evidence, but I don't think he's going to come up with an impeachable offense. Remember, the Constitution requires treason, bribery, other high crimes and misdemeanors. The most they've come up with is a very questionable campaign contribution issue, which failed when they tried it against Edwards some years ago. So I don't think we're in impeachment land. I also don't think presidents ought to be suggesting any kind of non-legal response to impeachment. If he would be impeached and removed lawfully, which I don't think is possible, the rule of law has to apply, and the people would have to accept that result. Now, the interesting issue, if he were impeached on grounds that were not constitutional and removed, and he challenged that and took it, for example, to the Supreme Court. In my book, I spell out that possible scenario and whether the president would accept the verdict of the Supreme Court, even if he didn't accept the verdict of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Interesting hypothetical of the kind I would present to my law students at Harvard, but it's not going to happen in real life.
Thank you, sir. I hope you stick around a bit later today, okay? We'll be watching this thing for Cohen and others as we get it here. Thank you, Alan Dershowitz in Miami today.